sing for you, but I'm going to spare you then. I think we're on. Okay, the last few weeks we have been deepening into the prosperity secrets of Moses. And if you didn't know, Moses is one of the richest people in the Bible. Coming from King Pharaoh, his wealth was immense. So we're using Catherine Ponder's classic book, The Secrets of Millionaire Moses, for this whole week. We're basing the talks on that. So I am loving the feedback that I've been getting from people, and the feedback that I am about to give today. What sounds like people are ready to hear this word from the wisdom of Moses. We don't hear that too often. So there are three secrets of these. I want to call them tools. I don't want to call them weapons. I don't know. That came to me this morning. The secret tools of Moses. And this is right out of chapter 5 from Catherine Ponder. There are three secrets of them, and they are symbolized in two incidences in Moses' life during the 40 years in the wilderness. If you remember, there's 3 40-year periods in Moses' life, and this was his last 40 years in the wilderness. And one incident occurred early in the wilderness period, and the other occurred later on. But we're going to jump right in with the first one. So let me set up the circumstances for this first secret tool for prosperity. You want to be prosperous. Prosperous in every way. It doesn't mean money, although money is good. We like money. So good thoughts around money. Money's good. But there are many other ways to be prosperous in health, in friendship, in love. All of these are aspects of prosperity that Moses is talking about. So back to Catherine Ponder. Soon after getting out of Egypt, after facing their fear and crossing that Red Sea, and after entering the wilderness, the Hebrews faced another problem, a pretty big problem too. They were attacked by a desert tribe known as the Amalekites. The word Amalek means warlike or dwellers of the valley. The Amalekites were plunderers. For us, the word represents our problems, our challenges, and our experiences in our lives that don't go the way we want them to go. They are those experiences that plunder our emotions. So we're going to use the Amalekites as our emotions. And so to speak, they bring about frustration, disappointment, and even depression. Moses' experience with the Amalekites gives us our first two secret tools for prosperity. First, your first secret, not really secret, I'm going to tell you the secret. The first, and it's in Catherine Ponder's book, but secret's a good word. The first secret tool is this. Know the meaning of your Amalekites. The first secret tool is to deep metaphysical teaching, one that I hope that we all get this morning. It really, really is important. The first step toward overcoming them and winning the war against our Amalekites is really important. And it's this. There is nothing negative about having to overcome problems and to meet challenges in life. And that's really important. There is nothing negative in that. We all have challenges. We all have circumstances that don't go the way we want them to. It's not a negative thing at all. This is huge to get that concept. You can begin to overcome your Amalekites when you realize that there are two different kinds. First, there are challenges that frankly are brought on by our own, that's negative, our negative thought, words and actions. We've spent a great deal of time in the last 2 weeks overcoming or exploring, not overcoming, exploring the importance of our words, what we speak, so powerful. So remember, if you remember when you were here, and if not, our talks are all on YouTube under my name, we talked about the I am rod of power, and that's part of this here. When we speak words that are facing downwards, we then give our power to that which is a curse. And when we raise our rod, our I am rod, upward, that's when our blessings occur. So what are we speaking? Are we speaking in the lower terms where we are lowering that I am staff, that rod? Or are we lifting it high and claiming our good, knowing that we truly are deserving of all the good that we could possibly encompass in our consciousness in this lifetime? And how you are behaving and the thoughts that you are thinking all contribute to this. As Dr. Ernest Holmes wrote in this thing called You, let nothing come forth from your mouth, I like this, let nothing come forth from your mouth that you would not like to have returned to you in experience. So whatever we speak out, let it be something that we want to experience in our lives. And if you are experiencing the Amaleks because of your ways of thinking, speaking, and acting is misaligned with your good, you know what to do. You know what to do, and in the counsel of the great mystic and guru, Nike, let's just do it. Let's do it. Just do it. Just do it. Correct the thought. Know that it's there and it's not serving you. Your body doesn't even like it. Once you get really into these teachings, you'll find that even though you might speak it, like you might forget for a minute and just want to have an ego moment, that divinity within you knows the truth. And it doesn't feel good to the physical form. So if you're experiencing these Amaleks because of your thinking, then just shift. Shift the way that you are thinking. Second, and this is an exciting one, there are also Amaleks that result from negative thinking, words, or actions, but these are mere necessities for growth. So this is really going to be interesting this morning because I want us to try to understand the whole concept of chemicalization because it's really good. It's really important. As you take up prosperous attitudes, you may encounter growth problems, but they are not problems at all, though their guise is pretty impressive. They are times of soul expansion. When our soul is expanding and the light is increased, then we are given this seeming conflict because now we are learning all of these spiritual concepts, but that old way of thinking is still in operation until we really practice and get it right. In our evolution, turbulence is a natural progression. Attitudes must be dismantled before they can be fitted back together into a greater pattern. And so as we spiral into a higher order, we have a period of peace, right? We're just learning all this stuff. Yes, it's a period of absolute peace. And right then, that's before that mixer whizzes through again and stirs things up. Remember, there will always be periods of chaos, always, in life. That's just the way life is. It's always been that way. We're going through, I think we all know that we're going through this right now. Everything feels really chaotic and upside down, and we don't know if we're coming or going. Some of us do know that we are the light of God, and we remember that all the time. I get sucked up into these circumstances at times too, but The rickety walls of the old structures are being torn down, and lots of dust is coming up from them. And we are all expanding out of our comfort zone, right? Is anyone feeling that, or is it just me? I mean, just being pulled to do things in a different way, and it's so changeable. It changes like every minute, just about. We really have to pay attention to how we are responding to all of this change that's taking place. One of the founders of New Thought, who most of us love, who know her, Emma Curtis Hopkins, she called this chemicalization. A chemical reaction takes place in your life, such as when you pour, and all of you mechanical kind of guys and women would get this, as when you pour baking soda solution on a corroded car battery terminal. The baking soda reacts with the corrosion, foaming as it neutralizes and eliminates the unwanted compound. So some of our beliefs have outlived their usefulness. They're just not useful anymore. Just as corrosion has. The old ideas of being wrestled away from you as you are forced to transcend them. Because once we learn this stuff, there's something within us that is activated, and it wants more, and it wants to grow. And as it does that, it's leaving behind all of those old fallacies and beliefs that we have picked up until now. Chemicalization is a natural part of the process of expansion and growth in consciousness. It is the change that literally takes place in your thoughts and feelings, which is then reflected in your body and affairs. Always going to be cause and effect, always. Catherine Ponder, in her book, The Dynamic Law of Healing, wrote this. This is good. This is explaining it a little clearer. When people have lived for years in wrong thought, they have molded these negative notions into their bodies and affairs. Now they have begun to do an about-face, thinking in terms of love, praise, forgiveness, everything we teach, release. Such reverse thoughts are a big dose for their system to take. And Ponder continues, and so there is a clash between the old and the new ways of thinking. And this sets up a chemical reaction in the mind, body, and affairs. And at such time, the good thing to remember, this is Catherine Ponder, the good thing to remember is that one positive thought, I love this, one positive thought is more powerful than 1,000 rowdy negative thoughts. One powerful, I am the presence of the divine expressing, is so much more powerful than 1,000 other thoughts that came along. So it's not an equal balance. The light will always cast out the dark in our thinking as well. The old way of thinking is on its way out, she says, no matter how much noise it makes in the process. It has to go. But having been in control for so long, it doesn't give up without a fight, even while it is flaring up for the last time. You can know that it is actually unconditionally surrendering and will soon be completely gone. Just keep your I am rod raised upward, she says. Meanwhile, there seems to be a lot of excitement as it takes its last stand. Chemicalization sounds like a negative process, but is actually a positive and natural one. That's for all of us to breathe in. Because we think, we learn about how to live a positive life and all of these wonderful, uplifting thoughts, and our lives are just going to change when we walk out that door. That doesn't usually happen quite like that. Because that old belief system that we have, those old thoughts that we grew up with, are still kicking and screaming, because they're right. They're right. And we know the circumstances and conditions, they change. But this divine truth is changeless. So knowing this, you can then embrace the obstacle as something that is clearing out. The part for what you really, is clearing a part for what you really want in life. Clearer and clearer. We're always clearing out. That's the work that we teach here in our spiritual teachings, that we are clearing out that which doesn't serve us to create, through our thoughts, our words, our actions, something new that does serve us. It's one of the secret tools, is to know that. It's the first one. The second secret tool is Aaron and Hur, H-U-R. When Moses learned that the Amaleks were planning to attack, he sent Joshua and his men out to meet them. Moses stood on the hill and held out his arms as long as Moses' arms were out, the Hebrews were winning. When Moses lowered his hands in any way, the Hebrews began to lose. So Moses took Aaron and Hur with him to the hilltop. And when Moses' arms got tired, they each held the arms up. The Hebrews were winning. When Moses' hands went down, they were losing. So he took these two people with him to help hold his arms up. Aaron, if you don't know, we talked about this before, symbolizes strength. And Hur, H-U-R, symbolizes affirmations. The hands of Moses symbolize for us the strength and the power of our mind. We are powerful, creative beings. We just maybe don't believe that, but we certainly are. When the mind is downcast, we are inclined to lose life's challenges. You know, when we're feeling really down, it's like, oh, what the heck. You may tire of your challenges, your Amaleks, but remember, just like Moses, you have Hur, H-U-R, you have Hur, or the power of positive words to help you. And you have Aaron, the strength, the power of strength. You are uplifted, and you can call upon your Aaron and your Hur, use them as symbology, to help you through anything where you feel like you are losing. You have powers beyond human understanding. All of us do. And like Moses, you never have to hold up your thinking alone. For goodness sake, we have a whole community here. We have many ministers and practitioners here who will help you through those challenges to help hold your arms up so that you can move forward in the desired manner that you would like. So the second secret tool to defeat your Amaleks is, first, to use your internal strength and power through affirmative words and thoughts. And second, to know that there's a whole community of people to help hold you up. Your spiritual community is here to help. That's why we gather. We gather in community so we don't have to feel so all alone when we're out in this crazy world. And I have to call it. I've called it before. I haven't called it in a long time. It's an insane asylum. It's like dealing with all the crazies, and we're one of the crazies. But this is a way of truly, truly coming into clarity and knowing that we have a community to come to every Sunday. We have, when we can have, in-person classes. We have workshops, and this is all to help us get centered for our next week, for our next thought. Maybe we learn a little something here, a little something there, and it keeps us moving in the direction of peace within ourselves. And that moves us to the third secret tool. Speak your divinity, your divinely inspired words of power to your Amaleks. This third secret tool comes from another period later on in Moses' life in the wilderness. There's great examples. He's a great, there are many great symbols in the story of Moses, many. But before we talk about that, I want to backtrack a little. Early in the wilderness wanderings, the Hebrews were without water. Moses did what he did every time there was a need. He went to the source. We talked about that in one of the talks, the source. He turned to God. He always asked for specific, very important, guidance. Jehovah always gave Moses what he asked for, and he followed it. Two important questions for you. First, who remembers what Jehovah really symbolizes and means? The God within. Glad you were all paying attention. The God within. Okay, that's what Jehovah symbolizes. That divinity within each and every one of us. The inner voice, inner guidance, intuition, knowing. And that knowing is so important. One of the speakers at the Anton conference is Paul Zellick. He was on the call, the Anton call that Barb spoke about, and he was so amazing. He was amazing. He's one of our speakers at the conference, but he did an hour interview, and it's just so amazing. Talk about lifting you up, and he talks about unwavering knowing. Just knowing. It's so much higher in a vibratory manner than faith. It's the knowing. There is absolutely nothing that can interfere with the knowing. So this is what the kind of knowing we're talking about here. So, second, what did God instruct Moses to do when he asked him for specific guidance? Strike the rock, strike the rock. This is important to remember, that Moses was instructed to take an outer action. The first time he asked, he was guided to strike a rock. Okay? Outer action. That is what served him and the Israelites at that time. So now here we are. That's before. Years later in their wanderings, and they are in need of water again. And there isn't any around. Moses again asks for specific guidance. And this time Jehovah said, and this is in the Old Testament, take the rod, gather the assembly together, you and Aaron, your brother, and speak over the rock before their eyes, and it shall give forth water. So Moses' inner voice, the God of his being, tells him to speak to the rock. But did he? Let me read from Scripture again. And Moses took the rod from before the Lord, as he commanded him. And he lifted up his hand and struck the rock with his rod twice. And the water came out abundantly. And the people drank, and their cattle all drank also. Problem solved. The people have water, and their cattle have water. But wait. Do you see something very wrong with this picture? This time Jehovah gave new instructions. We have to listen to our inner voice very carefully, and it will always come through when we ask and have that knowing it will. He specifically said to speak to the rock. He didn't tell him this time to hit the rock. But Moses didn't listen. He didn't listen. He used the old way, the way that had worked before. And yes, the immediate need was met. But there is a long-term ramification here. And here's what Scripture said to that. Because you did not believe me, you shall not bring this congregation into the land which I have given them. Now, that can sound very harsh and punitive, but it really wasn't. It is, however, a specific example of how the law of cause and effect works. And how, when we do not follow the guidance we are given, have we ever gone within and asked for guidance and received it and then done something different? Or we've altered it to make it like more palpable to ourselves. Okay? And then the consequences. It can work the first time. But then long term, things have shifted because your growth has occurred. So you're from a different place in your consciousness, and you're speaking this word, and you're listening to this indwelling guidance that you will receive, you do receive. So when we do it the way we've always done it, we may temporarily get what we want, but in the long term, we won't. We're operating from a different state of consciousness. If we ask for guidance and then don't follow it, it may seem that our promised land evades us as well. So that promised land is our desire, what we want in our lives. Most of us are trying to dissolve the hard conditions in our lives by striking out at them with force. Earlier, Moses had solved the problem by doing that. And it worked. But now, much later, he had outgrown that method. Okay, so we outgrow. The deeper our consciousness is of the spirituality, the spiritual teachings, the more that we deepen into them and really get to a place where we know there's a power for good and it's always in operation within us. And then we try to do it the way we did it like 10 years ago, 5 years ago. It's not going to work the same. It's just not. So the secret tool here is that you can dissolve hard conditions in your life with the divinely guided and inspired words. Speak the word of truth. There is a tremendous magic even in ordinary words because of the creative power behind our word. Our words are so much stronger and more powerful than we really do know. And the law, the divine law, the substance of God, this is what we teach in our foundations class. The reason why it's so important is we teach these spiritual principles so that we can understand how this creative process truly works. We're the creators and our word is powerful. Ponder writes this, I'm getting near the end, everyone. Ponder writes this: when there is a great need or a hard condition in your life, meet it on its terms by emphatically speaking good words about it. Be deliberate, definite, positive, and persistent. This method has worked for thousands of others, and it will clear the rocky conditions in your life too. So, my friends, if you are facing some Amaleks right now, take a good look at them. Identify them. See if they are coming from your own thinking and speaking that is misaligned with your good. And if so, stop it. It's that simple. Stop it. But they may simply be the process of chemicalization. The old is breaking away so that the new can come forth. It can be birthed into the good of our being. Call it good. Call it very good. Irma Curtis Hopkins did. This too is good. This too is God. And that's your first secret tool. The second, I'm just doing a little synopsis, is remembering your metaphysical Aaron, strength, and her, H-U-R. I feel like I have to spell that every time. Her, which is your affirmative words, your affirmations. And use your spiritual community here. Use us. Our phone numbers are on the back of the bulletin. Just use us, just for a quick prayer or for a full session. That's up to you. And that moves us into the third tool, is to speak your divinely guided and inspired words. Speak forth your good. Be deliberate, definite, positive, and persistent. Be persistent in that thinking. It will not fail you. If you don't believe me, as Ernest Holmes says, and as I've proved, prove it to yourself. Do it anyway and see what happens. So I wish all of us a life that is truly lived deliberately and consciously, a life where we can experience great good in times where it doesn't even look anywhere near that. It doesn't look that way, but we can, through our attitude, through our speaking, our emotions, our thinking, every part of us can know that there is a power for good that is in charge, and we can live a life that is well lived. Thank you. And so it is.